Okay, class. In our previous lab, we added the Active Directory Domain Services role, the DNS server role, and the DHCP server role onto our Lun-DC1 server, working with Windows Server 2016. After installing Active Directory and rebooting and logging in as the domain administrator, we configured our reverse lookup for our DNS. We verified our DNS server is functioning properly. We then configured our first DHCP scope. The next step, and what we're going to do in this video, is to install and configure a certificate authority. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to connect to my lab. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to turn my Lun-DC1 on. You'll see that it's got a yellow across the title bar. It is on, it's paused. So I'm going to go to the console. And there we are. Again, at the top middle, press Control-Alt-Delete button to get your logon prompt. We log into the administrator account, and we're going to go to Manage, Add Roles and Features. On the wizard screen, we're simply going to click Next. All the installations that we're going to be doing in these labs are all going to be role-based or feature-based. In other words, we're going to install a role or we're going to install a feature. We click Next. We only have our DC1 so far. That's the only machine that we've configured. So it's the only one listed here. And as we've observed in previous labs when we were working in our Hyper-V environment, we can manage multiple systems from one interface. Install roles, install features, install the administration tools, be able to administer roles, configure them on other servers without ever having to log into that server. We're going to click Next. We are going to select the Active Directory Certificate Services role. We're going to add the features. At this point, we're going to click Next. There's no other features necessary at this point, so we're going to go ahead and click Next. Now, we want to also select the Certification Authority Web Enrollment. It's also going to install some web server features. Those are the only two certificate roles we're going to install at this point. We're going to go ahead and click Next. We're going to accept the web server roles the way they are. Everything's fine here. We can simply click Next again. And we're ready to install. Okay, so our role has been installed, and we are now ready to configure the Active Directory Certificate Services. You'll notice that there's a link right here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on that. And it wants to know, hey, who has the credentials that's allowed to do this? Well, it's our administrator role or administrator account. So we're going to go ahead and here again, a lot of clicking Next. Click Next. We have two roles that we're going to configure. So we're going to go ahead and place a check mark on the first and then the second and click Next. Now, what type of certification authority are we installing? We're going to do an enterprise. This is going to be integrated into our Active Directory. So we're going to leave Enterprise CA selected, click Next. This is the very first CA, so it will be our root CA. And remember from our previous discussions, typically in an enterprise you will configure that root CA, and then after you've done that you will configure subordinate CAs, and those are the ones that are actually going to be doing the work. for our case, we're only going to be doing the one, so our root CA is going to be doing all the work for us. So we click next. We don't have any keys, so we need to generate some new private keys. We click next. We're going to maintain these same settings right here. We're going to use a bit length of 2048. Hashing algorithm is going to be SHA-256. We click next. Now you can shorten this name if you like. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave it the way it is. We can see our distinguished name and the way that it's going to appear. We click next. Now, since this is going to be internal, we're going to go ahead and we're going to leave this set for 5 years. If you're at all up on certificates these days, any certificate you see on the web is not going to be good for anywhere near this long. However, this is for the certificate authority itself. We click next. This is the location of where the database and the database logs are going to be. We click next. And we're at the confirmation. These are our settings. These are what our settings are going to be. And we select configure. It's going to take a moment. Shouldn't take very long. It's going to configure all our settings for us. And just like that, we're done. Now, at this point, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to click close. And close one more time. Now, we can go to Server Tools, and we can see now we do have a certification authority that we can select. Loads up, and here is our view. We're going to select our server and expand it. We are going to select certificate templates. You're going to right click and select manage. We are going to make a copy of both the domain controller and down here further the web server. So we're going to right click on domain controller and we're going to say duplicate template. We want to select the general tab, and where it says copy of, we need to change that. We're going to change that to a datum. Okay, so once we've named it a datum domain controller, we're going to go ahead and we're going to select apply and click OK. We can now see our template that we just duplicated. We're going to right click on web server and we're going to do the same thing, duplicate template. And we want to rename that a datum. We're going to click OK. Now we're going to right click on a datum web server one more time and go to properties. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the security tab. And under authenticated users, we want to allow them to have read, write, and enroll permissions. Go ahead and click apply. Okay, so once we do have read, write, and enroll selected for authenticated users, you're going to go ahead and click OK. We can now see our two templates. What you're going to do at this point is now we can right click on Okay, so we've got our two datum templates, domain controller and a datum web server. We can go ahead and close the certificate templates console. That brings us back to our certification authority. You're going to right click on certificate templates. You're going to go to new certificate template to issue. Takes a moment and our enroll certificate templates does appear. So I can select my datum domain controller, and then holding the control button on my keyboard, I'm going to also select the datum web server. We click OK, and now under the certificates that we can issue, we now have our datum web server and our domain controller. We can go ahead and close our certification authority snap-in. Let's go ahead and take a look at our certificates MMC. If we right click our start button and go run and type in mmc.exe, we can go to File, Add Remove, Certificates, Add, and what we're going to do is we're going to add the computer account. Click Next, the local computer, Finish, and click OK. Now we can select this, expand it. I'm going to make it a little bit larger, make it a little bit easier for you to see. And I'm going to expand, I'm going to select personal and expand it, and you can see certificates. And here are our certificates. There's our domain controller certificate issued by a datum Lund DCCA. If we want to, we can go ahead and request a new certificate. So I'm going to right click on certificates. I'm going to go to all tasks, select request new certificate. It says, hey, before you begin, read this. We're going to click next. We're going to click next. Take just a moment or two. And you can see here are our certificates that we can select to issue. Well, we've already got our certificates. We don't necessarily need to have a web certificate on here at this point, but this is the steps that we're going to use to go ahead and install a certificate. So just to show you what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, more information is required to enroll for this certificate. Click here to configure those settings. And it says, what is the subject? I'm going to change full DN to common name. Okay, under the value, I'm going to type in the fully qualified domain name for my system that I'm adding this certificate for, and this is our lund-dc1.adatum.com, and I'm going to click add. You can see that it changed it to CN, which is our common name. I'm going to select the General tab, and I'm going to type the same thing in here as a friendly name. So lund-dc1.adatum.com. I can click OK. I don't have a warning here anymore now, so I can go ahead and put a check mark right here and say enroll. The certificate is being requested. Take just a moment for it to be created. We'll be doing this on some other member servers once we have them configured as well, and also in our labs. As you can see, we did have success. If we wish to, we can take a look at the details, how long it's good for, and we click finish. And here is our certificate. And there you can see the friendly name and what the certificate is meant to be used for. That ends installing our CA. We are now ready to begin our labs. Thank you for listening and watching.